To all those people watching, I'd like to remind everyone that this video is not made for kids. It's for older fans and adults. Enjoy the fucking video! It was 2 days before Christmas, and Wellsworth was to host its annual Christmas Eve festival. People from far and wide visit the town and see the stalls, rides, and other things. And to end the night, the large Christmas tree was lit along with singing Christmas carols and ringing bells. Thomas always enjoyed the festival and couldn't wait for this year's one as well. If only it would snow, he thought. Thomas doesn't like snow when it comes to his snowplow, but he enjoys seeing it, especially on Christmas. At the station, Thomas was waiting to take another load of passengers. Henry was alongside him, ready to deliver more Christmas decorations for Wellsworth. Thomas looked towards the sky and sighed. Looks like we won't be having a white Christmas this year. That's okay with me, replied Henry. I have so much to do at this time of year that I'm glad that it isn't snowing. I don't need a snowstorm now. It would make the whole festival even better if it did snow. Just then the Fat Controller came to see him.
Thomas, I have an important job for you. My wife, Lady Hat, had gone over to the mainland to see our children, and are coming back with her and our grandchildren to see the Christmas Eve festival, as well as for the holidays. Their train arrives at the station on the mainland tomorrow afternoon, and I want you to collect them.
Yes, sir, replied Thomas importantly.
Very good,
replied the Fat Controller happily. The next day, Thomas went to collect the Hat family. As he made his way to the station on the mainland, he could see other towns along the way having their own Christmas celebrations. At one station, he could see children holding costumes for a Christmas pageant. Then at another, he saw the carolers singing Christmas songs to the passengers. Finally, Thomas arrived at the mainland station and went to have a rest in the nearby sheds. But when it was time for Thomas to leave to collect Lady Hat, her children and grandchildren, the weather had changed. Looks like there might be some snow on the way, replied his driver worriedly. Yes, agreed Thomas, and some fog is rolling in. Thomas was worried. When it comes to fog, he would have to go slow so they could see the signals properly. At the station, they collected Lady Hat, her children and her grandchildren, alongside their luggage and presents for Christmas. Everyone was happy to see Thomas, but Thomas looked towards the sky worriedly. I hope we make it back in time, he thought. After everyone had been loaded on Thomas's train, they set off. But the fog was starting to grow thicker and thicker as they made their way back to Wellsworth. It was hard to see what was in the distance, and the cold wind blew, making Thomas shiver. His lamp shone, but it was useless in the fog. This isn't merry weather at all, he grumbled. He wanted to get to Wellsworth as soon as possible. Come on, driver, I'm sure going fast through this fog won't hurt, he pleaded.
No, replied the driver firmly. It's too dangerous, Thomas. We must slow down so we can see the signals properly, and stop in time in case of any danger.
They passed through one of the stations from earlier, and Thomas couldn't see anything through the town or station. Then his driver saw a red signal ahead and applied the brake. Thomas was shocked by the sudden stop. His wheels slipped along the icy rails, and his fireman had placed sand from his sandboxes for extra grip. He stopped just in time. Why have we stopped? He asked.
I'll contact the signalman, replied the driver.
So he climbed down from the cab and made his way towards the nearest signal box. He then came back and said,
James had been derailed by some frozen points up ahead, and he's blocking our path because he's been going fast and missed the danger signal. Luckily he wasn't taking anything. But you see why we can't go fast in fog, Thomas?
Thomas soon realized the danger of it all. He hoped that the fog might lift after waiting around until James is back on the line. But after James was rescued, the fog hadn't lifted, and because they waited for such a long time, darkness began to shroud them, and it made visibility even worse for Thomas. I believe they'll be missing the festival, he sighed. Worst of all, I think I'd ruined the Fat Controller's Christmas. Thomas was right. The Christmas tree was all lit and the people were singing carols around it. But the Fat Controller wasn't there. He was still standing at Wellsworth waiting for Thomas at his special train in the freezing, misty, cold night. "I hope everyone is safe," he whispered to himself. Then he heard Thomas's whistle. As Thomas puffed down from the hill and near the station, he saw the Christmas tree all lit up, but the streets were empty, indicating that people had left and had gone home for Christmas. He pulled up to the station feeling very low indeed. The Fat Controller hugged his wife and was very pleased to see her, his children and grandchildren all safe. "Let's get these children to bed," said Lady Hat, "or else Father Christmas will never arrive." So the children were placed in the Fat Controller's car along with the presents and luggage, and they rolled away back to their house. Meanwhile, Thomas puffed away back to the sheds feeling very sad. It was Christmas morning, and the island was blanketed with a thick white snow. There were no trains for Christmas and Boxing Day, so the engines were to rest. But Thomas was still sad that he didn't bring the hats to the festival on time. Later, the Fat Controller arrived with his family to wish the engines a Merry Christmas. He then saw Thomas looking sad and asked him what was wrong. "I'm sorry for not getting to the festival on time, sir. I think I ruined your Christmas."
"Ruined?" said the Fat Controller. "You haven't ruined anything, Thomas. Bringing my family home safe and sound in the foggy weather is the best Christmas gift I ever had. You have been very careful, and I'm very pleased, so missing out on one festival isn't the end of the world for me or my family."
Thomas was delighted. All the engines soon sang carols, and the Fat Controller had given his engines the best coal to thank them for a wonderful year. Lady Hat had even requested to give Annie and Clarabelle new seat cushions, since the ones she rode were getting old. This had been a wonderful Christmas, Thomas peeped happily, and everyone agreed.